Predominantly what we're looking at is cold calling, and these are scammers who are essentially professionals at this. This is what they do, this is how they make their living, and they do it because it is lucrative, unfortunately. And what they will do is essentially, best we can tell, they'll call areas of people, residential areas, places like Summerfield, Stokesdale, Oak Ridge, where you've got a large suburban population, and essentially go through the phone book and target people. And what they're doing is trying to convince them that the scam is legit. They're presenting something that is advantageous to the victim. And it could be something as simple as, hey, you won $1 million, we're giving you a call to let you know, but to process everything, we're going to have some taxes and fees collected up front. Mostly what we're seeing is false information of a criminal warrant, or that they're behind on their income tax and they owe money to the federal government. Those are the two big ones that we'll hear fairly regularly. Most of these scams, what we're seeing is the method of payment or the method of collection of choice are prepaid financial transaction cards. These reloadable debit cards, green dot cards, vanilla visas, all the different brands. And what they're doing is they are directing a victim to go to a local business that sells these particular cards and load them up with increments of money. Start them off with $500, see if they'll do it. And the problem with these reloadable cards is they're very difficult to trace. Once a victim starts talking to a scammer and gives the card numbers and all of the security numbers, things that you would need off the physical card to let that payment process. Once it's out there, that money is accessible by anyone, anywhere. I mean, you're talking a matter of minutes if a scammer knows what they're doing. Often you'll hear about a elderly victim who's gone to the bank and taken out thousands and thousands of dollars in cash, and they've gone to the local business, put it all on a prepaid debit card, and it's gone. Bank's not responsible for that. The prepaid debit card company isn't responsible for that. The business where the card was sold isn't responsible for that. There's nobody to reimburse the victim, which becomes a bit of a, it's a sore spot. It's a touchy thing dealing with victims that you essentially, I'm sorry, there's not much we can do to help make you whole again. A particular case we investigated recently involved a female resident up here in the Summerfield area. She fell victim to one of these scams. She got contacted by a scammer. I believe actually this particular victim, it was a negative encounter. It was somebody calling and saying, you were behind on your taxes and you owe money and you need to send us this money right now over the phone, or we're going to send the sheriff out to arrest you. We don't do debtor's prison in this country anymore. So it's definitely, at least to our ears, it sounds unusual. To a victim who may not be as informed, of course, it sounds serious and something has to be taken care of right away. I believe this particular lady went to the bank twice, withdrew $1,000 each time. She came back to her house, had a prepaid debit card. She provided all the card information over the phone to the scammer. The scammer got back in touch with her later and said, hey, I need another $1,000. You're still not square on this. Went right back to the bank, got another $1,000 cash. Went to another business, purchased more cards, did the exact same thing. It wasn't only until after that $2,000 was gone that she thought, maybe I need to verify this. Maybe I need to double check. So once again, that's a predominant reason why we're trying to do this initiative, get this information out to prevent these things before it's too late, before the money's gone. One of the things that we've done recently, we partnered with our community resource office to come up with these little notices that we could post at different retail establishments that sell large amounts of these prepaid and reloadable debit cards. That it's clear, it stands out. It draws a victim's attention to it and basically says, if a person claiming to be a law enforcement officer is directing you to purchase a money or prepaid card to pay a fine or avoid arrest, please hang up call 911 and report the fraud immediately. You know, we want to make our victims aware, one, that this stuff occurs fairly regularly, and this is how they're doing it. They're using these cards, and you need to make sure you're not going to be a victim before it's too late. So we hope that people will see these. We hope people will, pay attention to them and, heed the advice and, take a step back, take a deep breath, think it through a little bit further. And ultimately, if there's ever a question, give us a call, talk to one of us, and bounce it off us, and we can pretty much, without a doubt, tell you, yeah, it's a scam, or no, it sounds legit. You're good to go.
So we got a call from the company that services the gas pumps, and they called and reported that they had found some skimmers in 2 of the gas pumps at the gas station in Whitsett. These guys, they service gas pumps all over the state. They've seen these skimmers many times before, so when they opened the pumps, they knew exactly what they were. These new skimmers use the card reader that is actually built into the pump, and there's nothing external that you can see. Everything is internal. The only safety features that are out there now are to look, a lot of gas stations will have security tape over the edges of the part of the gas pump that unlocks and opens up, and they'll replace that security tape every time they go in there. So if it's broken, or if you see void written on it where it was pulled off and put back on, probably avoid that pump. So with the majority of them, they need to come back and retrieve the device, and then all the data is stored on some type of circuit on the device, which they download and get their data back from. There are others that have Bluetooth connections, and you can actually, it's kind of debatable whether you can actually pull up to the gas pump, turn on your Bluetooth, and see if you see a possible address to connect to that's just a series of like 2 numbers or letters and then a colon and then 2 numbers or letters again, possibly a skimmer in that area. But that's kind of hit or miss whether you're going to see that or not, because a lot of the skimmers have to be retrieved and you just have the data downloaded. I believe usually late at night, oftentimes they'll hit a gas station that's not open 24 hours, or if they hit one that is open 24 hours, they will go to the furthest pump away from the cashier or something. They'll open the pump up. The skimmers that they use, I actually have a picture of one here, and they require just unplugging one little plug, plugging their skimmer in so it basically joins into the pump's actual circuit, and then close the door and lock it, and they're done. I think we're going to see more because statewide we've been seeing more. I get alerts from the Secret Service frequently, and it's coming in at least on a daily basis now that skimmers have been seized somewhere in the state, and it's kind of gradually moving north from Charlotte. So I believe this is just the ones we found also. I mean, for every one we find, there's probably a lot more that we don't find. I think there's more in Guilford County. I don't know how many more, but I do think there are more in Guilford County that we haven't found. Well, the Secret Service looks at, they have one special agent in North Carolina that's working all the skimmers, and we have had hundreds of skimmers that have been seized so far. He looks for similarities in the way the skimmers are made, and he's identified a couple of different groups that have been running around placing them on there. He has made some arrests. I couldn't tell you how many right off the top of my head, but he has made some arrests. Get yourself a low balance credit card that you pay off every month, and use that for your transactions instead of swiping your debit card all over the place. And the benefit of that is if your card gets hacked, it's really easy for you to call the credit card company and just say, I didn't make these charges, and 9 times out of 10 they just put the money back, take those charges off your account. With a debit card, It's likely you're going to get your money back from the bank, but depending on the bank's policy, it could be 2 to 6 weeks before they replace the money in your account, and you have to live without it for that time. Or they could just drain your account, and it could be 6 weeks before the bank finishes their investigation to put the money back in it.